Hey there, it's Mackenzie, your host of Winning. We're looking for sponsors for the podcast. If you have a business that you would like to promote to thousands of people, send us an email at podcastwinning@gmail.com or send us a message on social media. I cannot wait to hear from you. Now on to the show.
Winning is your guide to making it in business. Join our award-winning host and entrepreneur, Mackenzie Kilshaw, and special guests in casual conversations that will educate and inspire you on your business journey. Winning will help you learn the hard lessons the easy way with guidance from celebrated entrepreneurs and business leaders. It's fun. It's informative. It's winning.
Hello, welcome to Winning. I am your host, Mackenzie Kilshaw. And my guest today is Nicole Romanoff. Hi, Nicole.
Hi, Mackenzie.
How are you?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
I'm so good. I was just telling Nicole how I'm so excited to have her on because Nicole is what I would say is such an amazing, talented photographer who has built this career based on her talent. And I'm so excited to go through with you and how you did that. So if you don't know Nicole, she is an award-winning photographer based out of Saskatoon. She started her professional career in 2015 and has quickly made a name for herself in the industry. She specializes in branding, headshots, commercial, and fashion photography, which I think we'll talk about because we worked together a few times on fashion. Nicole's work has been featured in print and fashion magazine in Canada and tons of other international magazines and on billboards. She was on a billboard in Toronto's Yonge Street, which is super cool. And Nicole also owns a white space photo studio in Saskatoon, which is a rental space for photographers and creatives. So you have a lot going on.
I do. It's a lot to manage, but I love it.
But you love it. I love that. So I kind of gave like the Cole's Notes version of you, Nicole, but why don't you tell the listeners a little bit more about you and kind of where you started and how did you get now to where you are?
Oh gosh. Well, it's been a journey, and I would say, unlike maybe a lot of photographers, or maybe I shouldn't say that. It kind of took me a long time to figure out like what my path was, and especially like where I fit in the industry.
Yep.
So, photography has just always been something that I've been kind of interested in and passionate about, but never really, when I was younger, I would say I didn't really think of it as like a career path. I always was like, oh, that would be so cool to shoot for National Geographic, or I'm not sure why I chose National Geographic, but I loved the idea of traveling to different places and just working with cool people. But I would say once I hit university, I was like, oh gosh, like I'm at a real crossroads here. I don't really know like how to pursue that. So I ended up going into commerce, getting my commerce degree, as I think you do as well, right?
Yeah, you bet. Alumni.
And I feel like that really helped me in a lot of different ways, just with like more of a professional aspect and understanding business. And then once I graduated, I was like, oh God, like what do I do? So I ended up working for Coca-Cola for a number of years, and actually more specifically for Vitamin Water and Smart Water. I worked as like the business development manager for the province, which was such a cool job and such a great opportunity. Just worked with like all these super cool people from across Canada, and got to travel the country, and I learned so much. And then once the brand was more established, I was actually laid off from the company, which it happens, right? And I really do believe that everything does happen for a reason, because as much as I loved it, I knew that it wasn't like my passion. And so again, here I am at this crossroads. It's like, do I take the corporate route? Do I like venture off and do something on my own? And as you know, I ventured off and tried something on my own, but I would say it wasn't like an automatic like decision for me. It took a couple years. I was like doing all sorts of things. I've always been a dance teacher. And so I was doing that full time. And I was also nannying for my sister who had just had a baby. And I was working at Lululemon, and I'd picked up my camera again. And I always tell the story that it was really like nannying for my sister. I would just practice taking photos on her and just getting back into it. And really what it was people that would be like, why aren't you doing this? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I just didn't think that it was like, am I good enough? I don't know. So that was really my journey. And then once I kind of got like this affirmation from people, or like, they kind of like opened my eyes that, no, you can do this. So you should do this, or at least try. I jumped with both feet in, and it's been, I haven't looked back, like 9 years now. And just to think of like the progression and the evolution of like even the business aspect of it.
Yes.
And even like the photos that I've taken, and now I have like a studio space. It's wild. So, it took me about 13 or 14 years to like actually turn it into a career, which is, it's been a journey.
I think though, Nicole, honestly, there are so many people like you that, you go to university because you think that that's what you have to do to get a good job. I think it's changed a little bit now, but years ago, right, you had to get a trade, or you had to go to school and get an adult job, I'll call it. Mm-hmm. I had that same thing when you said you graduated and you're like, now what? I felt that too, because I'm like, okay, now I'm an adult. Like, I'm done school. I'm in my, still early 20s, but now I need like a big girl job. So you just get a job because you're like, well, I have to pay for stuff and have money, right? I have to have an income.
Exactly.
To get that job. Yeah. And then even if you're thinking, okay, I like doing this, I'd really like to do this as a career, it's really hard to make that leap into leaving an income in
what's comfortable. Yeah,
exactly. And in your case, being laid off, and so many people that I talk to, they're like, well, I got laid off. And then you're like, okay, now what? Right. And really you still tried some other things, but you went right back to that taking photos, and you are so talented. I'm sure that talent grew. Like, I'm sure when you first started, you're not how you are now, right? No. You probably look back and think, oh, geez.
Yeah, totally. Especially when I look back at like some of the photos I've edited, I'm like, why would I do that? But again, it's like it's all part of the process, and just growing as an artist. And so I try and give myself a little bit of like, grace, being like, like that girl was just on her way, and she was just like learning. And I don't regret not jumping into photography earlier, because I do believe like what you're intended to do will find you if you're open to it. And it just wasn't like my time, I guess you could say, like I wasn't ready. I had to like learn these other things, or, whatever it was, meet the right people.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and think about, you went through commerce, so you learned a lot about business, and that helps you run a business. Having, a job with Coca-Cola, Lululemon, like the amount of people you see in a day in Lululemon, right? That recognize your face, you maybe get to know them. That networking really helps you to build your own business, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And so even just, saying yes to all those experiences along the way, as daunting and tiring as it can be, I think will always get you to where you need to be in the end, if that makes sense. Right?
Yeah, I totally agree. I always say never pass up an opportunity, because you will probably learn something from whatever that is, and meet some people that down the line are really going to help you along your journey.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. When you first started, so you're practicing on your sister, and people are like, you're really good, Nicole, you need to do this. So you take this leap. How did you find clients to start growing your business when you first started?
Right. Well, kind of going back to the last thing I said, saying yes to everything. I said yes to everything. So if anyone wanted me to photograph anything, I'd be like, yes, I will. And just starting to market myself on Instagram or push out my work so that it was seen on a larger audience, and just starting to interact with more people. And, actually, my sister was the marketing director for the Saskatchewan Jazz Festival at the time. And I was like, hey, can I just like shoot whatever shows or like, can I shoot it? And she's like, yeah, for sure. Here's the pass. Like, go at it. So I shot every single night, like as many shows as I possibly could be at as like one person. Yeah. And I would stay up till like 3 a.m. just editing. So it was a hustle. But, you know, when people see you out with a camera, they start to identify you more as a photographer, or, you know, whatever it is that you're kind of like putting out there. Yeah. And so, because I think I was that person that said yes to so many things along the way and already had that network. You know, when people start identifying you as something new, they start sharing your name. And so really it was like very much like a grassroots sort of like spread, and just saying yes and learning what it is that I enjoy to do. Because I would say that like what I was shooting in the very beginning is not what I'm shooting today. And so it's just really interesting to see like how wide my net was, and now where that's brought me today in terms of like the style that I shoot and the clients that I have. So,
yeah. And I think that's really important too, because when you have a talent, and you make that into your career, you still have to niche where you are, because not many photographers shoot family photos and weddings and headshots and sports teams and right. Like you have to fashion, like you have to find out, okay, I love fashion. Okay. And if you guys got to go into Nicole's Instagram, because you do love fashion, because I can tell by what you wear. But also that, I know I alluded to it at the beginning, but Nicole and I, the first time I ever met Nicole or knew who you were, you came to my store, and I don't remember what it was for. But you said, hey, could I borrow some clothes for these models to wear for me to take pictures, and then I'll tag you in the photos? And I was like, sure. Because I also was just starting out. Yeah. And for me, that was a way to, okay, Nicole's going to take some really awesome pictures that now people are going to see the clothes are from me, and they're going to probably come to me. Right. So it worked out really well, but that was how I first met you and knew who you were.
The collaboration. And oh my gosh, I kind of completely forgot. So you're part of my story in a way, because that was one of the shoots that I originally did. And I was volunteering for SFDF, which is the Saskatoon Fashion and Design Festival at the time. And I was running their blog. And so I was trying to like bridge those relationships by you know, getting partners like you who own like cool clothing stores, and then, you know, creating like these sort of editorial blog pieces for them. And I remember that was like one of my first sort of like fashion, I guess you could call it like fashion shoots with Megan Kardashian. And it was actually, she was like a big part of, you know, encouraging me as well. She's like, you know, you're really good, right? And I was like, what?
You're like, well, not that good.
I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah.
You always doubt yourself. Everybody else can see the talent, and in your own self, I'm like, well, I'm fine. I'm not that great.
I don't know.
But
it's
of course
just
you
like,
are.
oh, yeah, this is just me. I don't know. Like, So anyways, I can't believe I forgot about that. But I loved how those images turned out. But it really comes down to collaboration as well. And just trying to offer something, and offer something, and then networking a little, you know, sometimes that word networking can sound a little bit too like, I don't know, business.
Used car salesman-y, kind of. I know.
Yeah,
I know.
exactly.
Yeah, I feel the same way too. It's building relationships for me.
Right.
More than just like handing out business cards and like, oh, hey, nice to meet you. And then you never talk to that person again.
Right. Yeah. It's like, what can you do for me? And versus like, okay, let's get to know each other and see how we can help one another. Yeah,
exactly. And really, when you came to me, I didn't know that you were just starting out. You were so professional. And to me, I'm like, she's really good. And I remember you sent me some of the pictures to use and I put them on my website too. And I never once doubted you, doubted that you were professional and talented and you were very friendly. Like, you were great to work with. So if those times ever came, like, I would have always said yes, because it was good for both of us. And you were so awesome to work with.
Oh, well, thank you for saying that.
Well, that's a testament to where you started to where you are now, right? Really, it's a lot. Yeah. It's you. It's a lot about just you and your personality too.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay. So you start out, you're like, okay, I'm going to do this. You take every job that you can take. And I'm going to just put it out there that probably a lot of those jobs you didn't get paid for.
Oh, I would say the majority. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're putting yourself out there. How do you get from that to being in all of these editorials, and you're on billboards in Toronto and internationally? How is that journey of growth?
I think it's just persistence and consistency, and I think just never giving up, right? So I've always been someone that's really driven to achieve my goals, and I've been, very inspired by fashion, and just, I guess there's like a competitive part of me too that's like, oh, I really I gotta like be my best, or see how good I can get. Like, can I be on a billboard? Can I get a magazine editorial? And just always sort of challenging myself and pushing myself forward. So I would say just, I'm not someone that takes a lot of breaks. I know that's something I'm working on, and I am getting better at it.
Yeah.
But
it's important.
Yeah, it really, really is. And, but I would say just constantly continue to do what I do. So kind of shooting as much as I can and just continue to put high quality work out there, eye-catching work, stuff that's relevant. And then, it will just catch the eye of those people that you want to work with, and those opportunities will come. Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. And like we said, it's building that community, and it's the connections that you have with other people, because now you've taken my headshots and, you're like, oh, I know someone, they're really great. I'm going to just call Nicole, right? Like, it just kind of, I think, branches from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
We talked before we started recording. Of course, we always talk, and I always say we should have been recording this. But I just want to touch on your Instagram page. We all know how important social media is for businesses, and we kind of were chatting about, but I think this is kind of a cool subject to talk about while we're recording. We chatted about how when your page started, or when you first started, your page was most likely people that liked your photos, right? Like, oh, that's an awesome photo. The photographer's great. I'm going to follow her. But now you have really branched out, and you're giving so much advice now to other photographers, and how I did the shoot, how I changed the lighting, all things like that. Clearly I don't know anything about photography when I'm talking about this, but you have really branched out, and let's talk about that, because you said so many of your followers now are worldwide and they're photographers, right? Yeah. So that's also changed your business.
Yeah, it really, really has. I would say that for several years, to be honest, I feel like I kind of had like this negative mindset around Instagram and kind of like what it was about. And in the summer or early fall, even, I think I really sort of like switched my mindset around that and thought about like, okay, like how can I use this as a tool to kind of serve and provide value, as opposed to just like, oh, here's something I did. And I would say in the last few years, just overall in my business, it's really come down to how can I serve? And more so than like, how can I just serve me? It's like, no, how can I like provide value and share? And so in the fall, I joined this challenge, this 10-day reel challenge. And so that really forced me to get in the habit of just posting every day and trying to share something useful and knowledgeable and learning about hooks and all those things that kind of get more eyes on you. And I've kept up with that pretty good. And I've kind of switched like who I've, I guess, been targeting. So it has been more of like, how can I serve other photographers? Because in the beginning, I would say that I didn't have a mentor. I just practiced all myself. I studied as much as I could online. And so I was like, how can I, provide value, and what sort of tips would be helpful for photographers, and kind of thinking about it in those terms. And I think it's my account since even November, it's grown like 13,000, like for photographers, like from all over the world. And it's been so great. And there's so much encouragement and people like finding value in what I'm sharing. And like, it's wild. It's so cool. And just to hear from people, like in Norway or in the States. And it's really kind of leading me down this path that I didn't see for myself in terms of more of like a mentor and kind of opening up like more mentorship opportunities for people that were, in my shoes, a few years back. So it's been so cool.
It's so crazy with Instagram. And we've had an episode recently on just Instagram and how you can be successful on Instagram. Really, whoever your target audience is, if you provide them content that's valuable and they're interested in, like 13,000 new followers in just a few months is insane.
It is insane. It's wild.
Congrats.
Every day I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah.
So
You're
cool.
like, what is happening?
Yeah.
But me as a non-photographer that's followed your page for a long time, I'm like, this is cool. Like I watch your reel because I'm like, this is so cool. I'm not going to use it, but it's still interesting to me, right? Like I'm not a photographer, but it's still interesting to me. I'm like, that's really cool.
Oh, that's great.
But the photographer, you've now opened yourself up for a whole new line of business, really, is that you could, and you likely will have a mentorship program. Someone can work with you and learn how to do these things.
Yes, absolutely. And that I have been, starting to hop on calls with people that are interested in me mentoring them from all over the world, and just hearing like what they need help with and how can I help them. And I'm so excited about it. And I just want to help others. I think it's really interesting because becoming a photographer, it's almost like we do it for us. It's like, this is what I enjoy. And now it's kind of transitioned into how can I give and how can I be of service? And then once you kind of figure that out, it really changes business,
Oh, for sure. And you're such a genuine person. And I think people see that, right? Like you can tell someone's personality from these people in Norway don't know who you are, but they can tell you're a genuinely good human that wants to help other people. And you're probably going to benefit from it financially and getting more clients and whatnot, but you're not doing it for that. You're doing it to serve people, which is really what's important, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really what makes you feel good, helping people, I think is really what, I don't know. That's why people volunteer. That's why people donate money. You can't beat that feeling. Like, I don't think any sum of money would give you the same feeling as like helping others.
Oh, I fully agree. I know you have done lots. I've done lots in the community. You don't do it for recognition. You do it because you genuinely want your community to be better, right?
Right. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about white space because, okay, so you're a photographer, you're really well known in Saskatoon, and now you have white space. So tell us a little bit about it and who maybe would use it. But also, why did you do that? What made you branch out into having a space?
Yeah, well, that's a great story because because I'm so interested in fashion photography, I have really focused a lot on studio lighting. And that's kind of led me down the path of like what I'm mostly shooting now, which is a lot of headshots and branding and experimenting with fashion lighting and that sort of thing. And I used to shoot out of my home, or I did for many, many years. And I would have to clean my house, first of all.
Yeah. People are coming, right? Yeah.
Right.
I got that.
All the furniture or like move it out of the way. And then I had 2 cats and people are allergic to cats. And so I was like, man, I really need to find like a better solution here. Plus something that would give me the opportunity to shoot in a different way. So more natural light photography, because in my home, I was very limited. I could really only do a certain number of like studio lighting setups.
Yeah.
So I would say that it was a few years of looking for different spaces, and it just seemed like rent was ridiculous. And I was like, this work. And nothing really looked like it would work. Like it didn't have the aesthetic that I wanted. It didn't have like the natural light that I wanted. And so it was like a few years of looking. And then one day around Christmas time, this would have been 2 years ago, I was like, I'm just going to check and see what's out there. And I saw this space come up. And I was like, oh my God, this is it. And I like instantly messaged the real estate person and I was like, I want this. Like, essentially,
give me this place.
Yeah. And so that was 2 years ago around this time. And I completely like renovated it. I painted the floors. And then a year later, I was like, I really need more space. And so I took over the unit next to mine and then knocked down the wall. So now it's like twice the size. And it's been so great. Like, not only has it been great for my business and like me as an artist and working with other people, it's been great for the community too, because I now rent it out to other photographers, which when I first started, that wasn't really part of where I saw the space. I was like, man, if a couple people a year rent it, that's so great. Now it's like several renters a week, and people love using the space, and it is so different. Like, I chose white floors because I rented this studio in Seattle a few years ago, and it was completely white, like white hardwood, like original hardwood floors that were painted white walls. And I was like, I want this. And there was nothing else in town like it. And then I just made it happen. I kept that vision in my mind and made it happen. So it's been.
I love that story. And that inspiration that you got from that Seattle studio. And then I loved when you said there was nothing like it in Saskatoon. That resonates with me so much. When I open my store, I'm like, I don't want to be like anybody else. I want to be unique, which sets you apart. And that's how you get more clients, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
You have done such a great job on, I think, okay, so just want to back up a little bit. I think when people have a talent and they're like, okay, I want to make this my career, a lot of limiting thoughts come in. Like they're like, well, I'm just me,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like you're just one person. So I can't just take photos all day long, all day, every day. I need that many clients, and it's burnout, editing, all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But you have done such a great job in growing your business with white space, with mentoring other people, right? You have taken yourself as the talent, and look what you've done. Like, it's amazing the growth you've had in 9 years. I mean, most people don't do these things in their entire career.
Yeah, no, it is really cool. And even if you asked me a year ago if I would be, mentoring other people or growing this following on Instagram, I would have thought you were crazy.
Yeah.
I would have been like, what? I don't see that for myself.
Yeah.
But I've just always been someone that has just stayed open to opportunities and just always, just continuing to find new ways and to listen to my intuition. And that's something that I would say that I'm still working on, learning like, okay, do I enjoy this? Like now I'm at that point where I can only say yes to so many things. And so in order for it to be a yes, it has to be, something that I really, really want. Because as we all know, time is like a very finite resource, right?
It's precious.
There's only so much of it. And there's only so much energy that you can give, right?
Yeah, exactly. You've done so well though. And I don't think that this is the end. I don't think it stops here. I think if I talk to you in 2 or 3 years from now, there's going to be something else, because really you were very talented, but you're also a very great businesswoman. Like you look at all the branches you've done, they still all come back to you. They all make sense, right? Mm-hmm. But you've got all these other revenue streams and different ways to make your business more successful without stretching you too thin, right? As one person.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I really do see my business moving in more of like a course, like doing more courses and teaching ways that I can reach more people a little faster, I suppose. Or you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. And like we always say too, the dream is to make money while you sleep, right? Or make money while you're on vacation, or make money. That is, as an entrepreneur, you're like, how can I be more successful? And maybe financial success isn't what you see as successful, but how can I do more and do better without me actually, without, like you said, you're not great at taking breaks. Well, most entrepreneurs aren't. It's important. You learn that along the way. But maybe you have an online course that people can purchase and take the course, right?
Right. Yeah. And I love teaching too, so if I can like share my knowledge on a greater scale, then I'm definitely like open to that, and so I find that really exciting because I absolutely love working with my clients, but I love working with other photographers, and honestly, I love business. Like I love thinking of new ideas and ways to grow and expand. So, I would say I'm really excited to see like what comes next.
I am too. Well, follow you on Instagram and then we'll all know. Exactly. I love that. Do you have a most important lesson that you've learned that you want to share?
Yeah, I do. I would say that it's so important to take action. Like it's one thing to like have these dreams, or if there's something that you're really passionate about and you want to happen, you need to take the first step and you need to be brave enough to take it. I would say that is like the number one thing. Even in my daily life, it's like, I I need to be brave. I need to like step out of this comfort zone, and take chances and take action. And that's how you'll grow, and that's how you'll learn. And, stumbling along the way is good. Like,
I agree.
I think that, my biggest teachers have been like those mistakes or, So I would say that my biggest lesson, or the biggest lesson I could share, is just to get over that fear and just to take action, however small, as long as you're working, towards your goal, whatever.
I agree. It's so important. And guess what? If you trip and fall, you just get back up and keep going, right?
Exactly. Yeah, because no one cares. Like, the only person that really cares if you make a mistake is you. Like,
most people don't even know.
So focused on their own lives and what's going on. So,
isn't that true?
Yeah, like, we got to get over ourselves.
I agree. And most people don't even know. That's the funniest part. I remember when I had my store and I would try things that flopped, and I'd be like, oh, I'm so embarrassed. And then I'm like, wait a minute. Nobody even knows. Like just in your own self, you get so concerned, and then you realize actually it doesn't matter because nobody else knows the difference. You learn something, move along, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think as you get older, you'll become more confident with each of those learnings. Like, the more chances you take, the more willing you are to take bigger chances and then just grow exponentially. Do you know what I mean? Like,
100%. I was actually just going to ask you if there's one thing that you wish you had known, but I think that might just be the perfect answer. Oh, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Just to try. Yeah.
Try. I love it. Nicole, where can people find you? I know people are going to want to learn more about you. Where's the best place for them to search you out?
Right. Well, I hang out on Instagram quite a lot. It's at Nicole Romanoff Photo. And then I have a website. It's NicoleRomanoff.com. And I'm also on the other social media sites as well. But I think if you want to really follow along on a daily basis, Instagram is like the place to go.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being on, Nicole. I really appreciate this. And I know there's so many people listening that have a talent. They're like, I really want to do this. And I really think that seeing your success will help them make their choice to do it. So thank you.
Well, that gives me such joy. And thank you so much for having me. I love this. And I'm so excited for this podcast.
Awesome. Me too. Thank you so much again. And for everybody listening, we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks for listening to Winning. Be sure to subscribe to get all of our new episodes. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, and leave a rating and review wherever you listen to Winning. To catch all of the latest from us, you can follow Winning Podcast on Instagram at winning_podcast, Facebook at Winning Podcast, and on Twitter at Winning Pod. Winning was created and is produced by me, Mackenzie Kilshaw. Music created by Summer Furby. Editing by Seth Armstrong. Special thanks to Shauna Foster for voicing our opening. And of course, a huge thank you to this episode's guest. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode.